You're listening to Compete Sports Radio Network. Compete Sports Radio News Weekly Update.
Welcome. This is Buddy Early with your Compete Sports News Brief. This weekend is NBA All-Star Weekend. Festivities begin tonight in Los Angeles with the Celebrity All-Star Game. A few of those slated to play alongside Hall of Famers Magic Johnson, Scottie Pippen, and Bill Walton are Jimmy Kimmel, Jason Alexander, rapper Common, Ty Burrell from ABC's Modern Family, and, oh yes, a guy by the name of Justin Bieber. Saturday night includes the Shooting Stars Contest, the Skills Challenge, the Three-Point Contest, and the Dunk Contest. The main attraction in this year's Dunk Contest is Los Angeles Clippers rookie forward Blake Griffin, who is a nightly regular on ESPN's highlight reels. But the Three-Point Contest is where the real competition lies. The Celtics' Ray Allen, who recently became the league's all-time leading three-point shooter, will face MVP frontrunner Kevin Durant of the Oklahoma City Thunder, as well as Miami Heat sharpshooter James Jones and the defending champ, Allen's teammate in Boston, Paul Pierce. Sunday at 8 p.m., the East takes on the West. The Heat and the Celtics dominate the East roster, accounting for 7 of the squad's 12 players. LeBron and D. Wade are joined in the starting lineup by Magic center Dwight Howard, Knicks forward Amare Stoudemire, and Bulls point guard Derrick Rose. Kobe Bryant makes his 13th All-Star Game appearance for the Lakers, joined in the West starting lineup by Durant, Nuggets forward Carmelo Anthony, and Hornets point guard Chris Paul. Rockets center Yao Ming, who was voted into the starting lineup, is injured, so expect either the Lakers' Pau Gasol or the Timberwolves' Kevin Love to get the nod. While players are either getting time off or having fun time in LA this weekend, NBA team executives are working overtime discussing trade possibilities before next Thursday's trade deadline. The biggest rumors involve Carmelo Anthony, Suns two-time MVP Steve Nash, and the Trailblazers' Andre Miller. The way things are looking at present, however, don't expect many trades to be made before February 24th. Finally, tongues are still wagging around the league regarding the sudden resignation of longtime Utah coach Jerry Sloan. Reportedly, it was Sloan's feud with his star player, Darren Williams, that led to his departure. Now rumors are swirling that Williams, who many believe is the best point guard in the league, may be on the trading block. Jerry Sloan spent the last 26 years as Jazz coach. To put that into perspective, 154 coaches have coached at least one NBA game since then, and 40 current NBA players had not yet been born when he started the job. That's it for now. I'll be back later in the show with more Compete Sports News.
You're listening to Compete Radio.
Welcome to the big show. I'm your host, Josh Fourrier. I'm so glad it's the weekend. This has been a week from hell. It's been crazy here. Apparently in California, things have been a little crazy too with this whole Title IX dilemma at the University of California. Alfonso, could you tell us a little more about what's going on?
Well, back in the fall of last year, University of California announced that it was going to have to eliminate 5 varsity teams as part of some of the financial changes that had to be made since funding cuts were taking place within the state of California. So there's money that they were previously receiving from the state that they were no longer going to receive, and it was affecting their sports programs. These five teams that they cut included the women's gymnastics and lacrosse teams. Now, having cut those 2 women's teams knocked them out of compliance with their Title IX. Sadly, it also included one of the nation's best rugby programs, which was at Cal State. So that team is also no longer at that level in the university.
I'm sorry, I actually just read that they did, for those 3 programs, the university and their alumni and their supporters have raised enough funds to reinstate those 3 programs that were cut.
All right, we're going to go into this a lot more in Sports Pop right here in Compete. All right, so Title IX has obviously been a big deal over there. They're cutting women's teams, which I don't agree with that. I mean,
well, you'd be one of many. Title IX has been a big problem with a lot of colleges across the United States for a long time.
well, what's your take on it? I mean, do you agree with
Well,
the federal?
I think that sports are a big business, and I used to work in higher ed at a women's college, and so that wasn't an issue for us because we only had women
all
there that
women.
were playing.
Yeah.
But I think that, again, we go back to the thing that we've kicked around so often is that sports is a big business. And when you get into the college stage, you've got alumni associations who are willing to do whatever under the table to try and get these teams going. And, oh, by the way, women's sports just they're not money makers, they're not necessary.
Exactly, Connie, that's a good point.
Yeah.
No, they aren't necessary, and I think that was the point I was trying to make.
No, well,
Leave it to Eric to come in on that one.
go ahead, Connie.
No, I think that the whole thing is with the state of California, they've got budgeting problems like everybody else, and they're trying to figure out who and what can they cut with the least amount of backlash. And they're going to get some backlash on this, and I think they expect to.
Well, I mean, let's be clear. The controversy here isn't that they cut women's teams because they ended up not cutting women's teams. The two teams that Cal ended up cutting were both men's teams, gymnastics and baseball. And that's where the controversy lies, because a lot of times what we've seen over the years with Title IX and trying to live up to the standards that Title IX presented is that men's teams are getting cut in order for these universities to stay in compliance, and that's where people get up in arms because they think that's unfair.
One thing that I've read that a lot of people are really having an issue with is the fact that they feel that men's teams are being punished in order to keep in compliance with Title IX. Now, that's not necessarily my opinion, but that's basically a point that's being brought up.
It depends on whose ox is being gored, basically.
Well, I mean, anytime somebody loses their team, they're going to feel like they're being punished in order to be in compliance with
women
this.
don't like sports. That's pretty much the general going in most cases. No, but I mean, if you look at percentages, I don't mean all women don't like sports, but in general, there's less interest in the population of women that like sports versus men, and therefore you are punishing men because it can't be a 50-50.
Well, there's a difference between liking to watch sports and liking to play sports, you know. And,
yeah, participation is what I was talking about.
All right. Well, I feel the phone calls coming on this one. We have Penny in Nashville, Tennessee, who's listening. Penny, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts? Penny.
Gosh, she was on before.
I'm Josh. Hi, I don't really like him.
Penny, are you there, Penny?
Penny, for your thoughts?
Sounds like we've lost her.
All right. Well, I guess we lost Penny.
You know,
wait. Is that Penny?
You know, I want to pick.
Hello?
Hey, Penny. We got you back. Hi.
Oh yes, I think we got disconnected.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay, so what are your thoughts on the whole Title IX debacle?
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit.
What are your thoughts on the whole Title IX issue?
Well, my opinion is that I don't necessarily agree that equality across the board is the way to go. I believe that clearly in like just for example, looking at athletics and schools, the money is basically on the male college and high school teams. That's usually where the money is brought in.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're making this more about making the money as opposed to people that have a genuine talent for playing sports not having that opportunity because they happen to be a woman.
Well, I mean, let's just be realistic. I mean,
yeah, let's be realistic, Penny. I mean, what you're suggesting is absolutely. I mean, as a woman yourself, you sound like a woman. It doesn't seem.
I am a woman.
It doesn't seem like you're really favoring your gender with this.
Well, as a woman, I do favor equality in many respects because we had to fight for the right to vote.
Right.
But in reality, there are a lot of issues where it boils down basically to the almighty dollar. And if we can attract more attention, and if we can draw in monetary gains with by maybe favoring the male sports, then perhaps it'll bring the attention to where the female perspective can be more noticed. I mean, it boils down to dollars.
I completely disagree with you. I do not think that everything should boil down to the dollar, especially whenever you're talking about people's talent. And what you're suggesting, and also what Eric is suggesting, is that women not be given a fair chance to utilize their talents in sports and athletics simply because they happen to be a woman.
Well, I think part of the other thing is legislating again. Do we want to have it to the point where the United States legislates that every college has to do certain things in order to get money?
They have. It's called Title IX.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well,
I'm saying philosophically, where do you go with that?
And that says a lot about our society, and that's something that I really have issue with, especially in this country, is the fact that our population functions in a way where our government has to set these policies and regulation into place because we can't treat each other with common decency and respect. If women want to play and they're athletic and into sports and they qualify and are good enough to form a team that's successful, why simply because they happen to be a woman, why in the world would they not get that opportunity?
But that's not really the issue, because I agree with Eric. I think what you're talking about here is the interest level from grade school on up, and we can see that in our Sunday afternoon beer leagues, in bowling leagues, in all of the amateur sports leagues and things that are going on. The interest level that you see between boys and girls, men and women, there's a big difference. You can just do an eye test and see that boys are more inclined to play sports, and that's why I think, and I know this is a little unpopular opinion, politically incorrect, that boys and men have been suffering because of Title IX. Because the interest level of boys and men in sports is far greater than that of the female gender, right. And yet we're still trying to make it equal.
Thanks for your call, Penny. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Penny. I really appreciate it.
Bye.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, we're talking about, this kind of goes into even so much as the affirmative action, where it's like, a certain race wouldn't get the job because they don't happen to be the I think the whole thing is completely absurd. And as adults in this country, trying to be the best nation that we can be, why can't everyone have a fair chance if they are genuinely good enough? Why should we punish them for things they can't help? And it surprises me that I'm outnumbered on this, but we need to go to a break. We'll be right back with Blake Skjellerup.
You're listening to Complete Sports Radio Network.
Don't go for second best, baby. Put your love to the test. You know you got to make him express how he feels, and maybe then your love is real. You don't need diamond rings or 18-karat gold. Fancy cars that go very fast, they never last.
listening to Compete Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Josh Fourrier. We are on the phone now with Blake Skjellerup. He is a speed skater. Blake, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me along.
Did I butcher your last name?
No, you didn't. You pretty much hit it on the nose.
Right on. I've been practicing. So, so welcome to the show. Just for our listeners, you were the Athlete of the Year judge for Compete Magazine's Athlete of the Year, or Compete Sports Media's Athlete of the Year. What was that experience like for you?
It was an interesting experience. Reading through all of the applications, well, the finalists. Sorry,
sure.
All of their stories was pretty interesting and inspiring in itself. And to be a part of that was pretty awesome. Yeah,
I'm sure. There's a lot of very qualified candidates competing for Athlete of the Year. Speaking of competing, you are a speed skater. Can you, just for our listeners, can you give us a little background on who you are and what your athletic talents are as far as your professional sports?
Well, I'm a short track speed skater, which is done on an ice hockey rink compared to long track speed skating, which I think most people can determine the difference now. I compete for New Zealand, and I competed for New Zealand at the Olympics in Vancouver. And yes, that was the good start of my of my career.
Well, it's definitely a very rewarding experience to be a part of that. What I thought was interesting, and many of our listeners may not know, but you are an openly gay athlete. And
I am, yes.
Yeah, can you tell me what that journey was like for you in making the decision to come out, not to come out? Did you get any resistance from your friends, family, team members?
Yeah, when I qualified for Vancouver, I discussed it with my boyfriend at the time, sort of about coming out, and if it came up, if I was asked about a relationship, I was going to, openly talk about my boyfriend and just sort of be pretty nonchalant about it because that's the way it should be. And but it never came up, and then after the Olympics sort of happened, an opportunity arose for me to sort of share my story, and I thought, why not? I discussed it through, obviously, my boyfriend at the time and some other friends, and most of them were pretty supportive, and since then it's been a very supportive and positive decision for me.
Perfect. Well, I'm very happy to hear you are still in a relationship, right?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Another aspect to that, though, is you are in your early 20s.
I am.
You're, well, now single and available for all of the guys out there that are that are interested in you. I know that you definitely have your following as far as your Facebook and your website say. What was it like in a relationship? You were holding hands. You were in public. You are obviously a well-known athlete. What was that experience like, and how did your team react to this?
Well, before I sort of went into the Olympics, I didn't really know many of the people very well, and as we sort of got to know each other and add each other on Facebook, which is awesome.
Seems to be the way to communicate nowadays.
Yeah, and then we were just sitting around. We were sitting around the team room one night, and I just added one of the girls on Facebook, and I don't think we'd really discussed anything else. And then she's sort of going through my profile, and she's like, "Oh, are you in a relationship with a dude?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, that's really awesome." And then, that was just sort of how it happened, and it was not a big deal. And there were lots of people in the room at the same time, and they all heard it, and it was kind of cool. Just sort of for me to, let people know, and it was an easy process.
Right. Well, now, it hasn't all been easy for you. I read online several sources that have stated that you were taunted by, was it team members or fans whenever you first came out?
not when I first came out. Sort of going through the sport at an early age. Like, obviously, I've only come out at the age of 24, 25, and sort of it seemed like through some people in the sport that being gay wasn't right, and they were pretty tough that way. And especially this was the same thing through high school as well.
Oh yeah.
And it sort of it affected me a little bit, and I mean there's still a little bit of it around today, but I don't let it bother me. And those people have that attitude for whatever reason, and that's their decision, but it may be the wrong decision. But there's not a lot that if I can change other people's minds, great. But these people, they choose to be bigoted and closed-minded for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, about that, I did want to touch on Ursula Hall, and I'm sure you're very familiar with that name. I wanted to combat a little bit of what she said, her views on coming out. For those that don't know, Ursula Hall is a goalkeeper, and she's an openly gay lesbian. She says that other athletes should stay in the closet because the more that people know about your personal life, the more vulnerable you are. Now, Blake, I know you don't agree with this. So can you talk to our listeners and give us your views on coming out and also Ursula's side of the issue?
Yeah, well, a friend alerted me to what she had said. He's German, and obviously it was sort of news in the German media. And he told me about it, and I was like, well, this is pretty wrong. And I wrote about it on the website I wrote for called Hypervocal. And basically, I sort of, from my point of view, you can't be afraid to be anything really, especially in the world of sports. You have to stand strong constantly. Like it's a tough thing to be. Obviously, to have your personal life and out there in the media, but if you're afraid of anything, it's going to affect the way you perform. In my opinion, you need to accept it and to be proud of it, and you've got nothing to hide, and then it sort of makes you a stronger person.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say to our younger listeners that are contemplating coming out? What advice would you give them?
My advice would be to just take it in your own time. I mean, you can't know what other people's reactions are, and sadly that is the way that society is today.
Right.
Take your time and obviously talk to people about it to start with.
Would you say that your life has improved, or a big weight has been lifted off your shoulders since you have come out? Have things been okay, basically?
Definitely. Things have been more than okay. My life has definitely improved, and I feel like that a huge weight has come off my shoulders since I've come out.
Yeah, but clear conscience, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, what are your future plans? Where should we look for you? When can we see you? Those that are big fans of yours, I'm sure already know where to go. But for those of us that are hearing from or would like to know, what you have in store for us, what can you tell us about?
My long-term goal is obviously the next Olympics in Sochi in 2014. But right now I have World Championships next month, starting on the 11th of March, and they're in Sheffield in England, and that is my last competition of the season. So it's my pinnacle event, basically.
Right. Now, do you live in the United States, or do you live in England?
No, I live in Canada, actually, in Calgary.
In Canada? Okay. Do you visit the U.S. often?
From time to time, we generally tend to have a competition or two down there each year. So mostly, we compete a lot in Salt Lake City. So I've been there a few times.
Very nice. What would you say would be your favorite things to do as far as when you finally do have free time? What do you like to do for fun?
What I like to do for fun? There's generally keeping active still. It's just something that is that I love doing. If I'm not skating itself, I'll be doing something else. I love being out on the water. Water sports just water skiing, swimming, anything like that is really how I love to spend my free time.
Very nice. Well, any final thoughts you have for our listeners? We have about a minute left. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And your website is blakeskjellerup.com, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah, be sure to log on to blakeskjellerup.com, or you can log on to Compete Radio. We'll post a link over to his website. He has information, pictures, and video clips. It's a pretty in-depth site, I guess, into the world of Blake Skjellerup. Blake, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Great to talk to you.
You as well, thanks. Yep, log on to CompeteRadio.com for news, information, hot topics, and more. I'm your host, Josh Fourrier, and we'll be right back after the break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Compete Sports Radio Network.
Log on to CompeteRadio.com.
You're listening to Compete Sports Radio Network. Call 480-222-4223. Compete Sports Radio News Weekly Update.
I'm Buddy Early, and this is another Compete Sports News Brief brought to you by Steel Gem. Major League Baseball players reported for spring training duty this week in Florida and Arizona. But the drama for now, at least, lies in Jupiter, Florida, where the St. Louis Cardinals are preparing for a season of uncertainty regarding the league's best player, first baseman Albert Pujols. Contract talks ended at noon on Wednesday, and now Pujols says he will play the entire 2011 season before entering into negotiations again. The 31-year-old Pujols has already rejected one offer, even though he has expressed a strong desire to stay with the Cardinals organization throughout the remainder of his career. Second to the Reds' Joey Votto in last season's MVP voting, Pujols is the only player in history to hit 30 or more home runs in his first 10 seasons. He's also had 100 RBIs in each of his 10 seasons and has scored 100 runs in 9 of those. It is unlikely that Pujols will accept any trade offer during the season, as he has the right to veto any deal. That means he is expected to become a free agent in the fall. The Cardinals organization appears to be balking at signing Pujols to a 10-year contract he is seeking, as they believe he just may not be worth that money at 41 years old. But, as the Yankees demonstrated with their recent Derek Jeter deal, there is such a thing as gratitude money. Big news from the world of college football this week, as the board of the Fiesta Bowl decided to place longtime CEO John Junker on paid administrative leave pending an internal investigation. The allegations are that Junker was involved in improper political campaign contributions. More than a year ago, the Arizona Republic reported that Junker had urged past and present employees to make political contributions with the promise that they would later be reimbursed by the bowl. That's illegal. For the record, Junker denies those claims. It's a great weekend for being a couch potato. In addition to the NBA All-Star Game on Sunday night, the Super Bowl of auto racing, the Daytona 500, is also that same day. Not to mention there are quite a few college basketball games this weekend with major tournament implications. Tonight's marquee game pits number 12 UConn at number 16 Louisville in a Big East matchup. On Saturday, Washington travels to take on Arizona in a battle of Pac-10 powers. Oklahoma State in the Big 12 tries to get onto the right side of the bubble when it hosts number 17 Texas A&M. And on Sunday, number 3 Ohio State, still smarting from last weekend's loss at Wisconsin, travels to take on number 11 Purdue. This has been Buddy Early with another Compete Sports News Brief.
Compete Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back to the show. I remember the Big League Chew Gum. It was my favorite as a kid. I would take... You remember that? It was like these little foil packets that looked like the chewing tobacco.
You
like
fold it over and close
had
it.
the sheets of pink bubble gum.
Strips.
It was like shredded
Paper, like shredded paper,
Oh,
but gum.
Okay.
I
No,
remember-
That wasn't what I was thinking about.
I would take the whole pack of that stuff and shove it in my face and try to chew it.
I'm picturing that. Yeah.
Be done with it in a day. But that gum was obviously supposed to be, the tobacco that
For little kids.
for little
Yeah.
kids.
And it quickly lost its flavor.
It did, like the fruit stripe. But there's some issues going on now in pro sports where these athletes, right, Alfonso, or
Yeah, I mean, if anybody has watched professional baseball, I'm sure Buddy has seen this himself millions of times, where you just see them with their mouths stuffed with tobacco.
Yep.
They're spitting.
It looks like they've got a golf ball in there. I mean, it's that big that it looks bigger than just a wad of tobacco.
Are we talking about in their mouths or what, Connie? That was pretty...
Yeah, well, they push it off to the side, the cheek.
Yeah, or they'll keep it in between their teeth and
Yeah,
or
down in
their
their
gums
gum.
and their lip. But Senator Majority Whip Dick Durbin of Illinois and Senator Frank Lautenberg of New Jersey, both Democrats, have asked Bud Selig, the Major League Baseball commissioner, to follow what minor league baseball did years ago. They're actually asking him to kind of make this move to outlaw tobacco products on the field, in the locker rooms, in the dugout of any Major League Baseball venue. I'm kind of in agreement with this. Anybody else?
I think it makes good sense.
I don't agree.
Why?
Look, I think it's gross, but
That's
and
true.
I'm the first person to want smoking banned from anywhere I'm in attendance, because secondhand smoke is very dangerous.
Right.
But chewing tobacco is not illegal,
Well,
and that's what they're trying to do is make it. Right, but what you do with cigarettes is legislating where you can smoke so that you're not harming the people
I
around
think that's what's going on. They're legislating that they can't do it on the field.
you. Who are they hurting besides themselves?
Well, that's not the issue. It's helping the kids who look at these
The
people
kids.
as
They've
role
always-
models.
All I ever hear about is the stupid
Well,
kids.
you never see people getting drunk on the field, do you? You don't see them smoking pot while they're playing football. You don't see. You just don't see that.
Well-
So why? Tobacco is an intoxicant. Why does it get treated any
Well, I
differently?
think every business has its own policies, but to legislate this we were talking earlier
Well, I
about
was gonna
legislating
say
too
we're,
much.
We're back in the whole legislation. and
If
everything.
the Los Angeles Dodgers or the Florida Marlins themselves want to do this, that's fine. But we're talking about U.S. senators getting involved in this, and that's where I have a problem. I guess it's my libertarian attitude.
I just have I have a very simple opinion on this. I am a smoker myself. I am not proud to be a smoker. I know it's bad for you. I know it stinks. I know it's an addiction. I know it's a drug. I know that the secondhand smoke hurts other people. But here's the bottom line. I am sick and tired of being taxed to death when I go to buy a pack of cigarettes. I am sick and tired of now in New York, you can't smoke anywhere in public. Basically, if you're outside, you can't smoke. I am sick and tired of these legislators treating us like we're criminals when we are taxpayers just like everybody else doing nothing illegal. And if you want to start pushing these smoking bans, and in relation to this story...
they do it with alcohol too, though, but I'll get to that in a second.
Well, let me finish. If you want to start doing these bans on tobacco and treating us this way, those of us that do smoke, then I want cleaner running cars. I want less pollution emissions. I want the air that we breathe to be 100% healthy across the board, and none of this hypocritical crap targeting one group of people. The bottom line is the government doesn't care if cigarette smoke is dangerous to other people. The bottom line is they can make a buttload of money in taxes off of every single pack of cigarettes they sell, and that's what they care about. And Penny earlier in the show kind of had it right. It's all about the almighty dollar, right? I mean,
Well, this is where we go into it again.
No, we're not.
But
No.
no, it's kind of similar. It's like, why should they get to engage in their intoxicant while they're at work when when alcohol, you don't do that. They don't allow people to drink while they're playing a sport. Cocaine is illegal. Pot is illegal. Why do cigarette smokers, why do tobacco chewers get special treatment that nobody else gets?
Well, you're bringing in pot and cocaine. Those are illegal drugs.
But they're intoxicants too, right?
I'm not following the argument because
Well,
we're talking about smokeless tobacco and maybe alcohol. Some businesses allow their employees to go to lunch and have a cocktail. That's up to
Right.
each individual business.
Right.
Right.
And that's why I have a problem with U.S. senators telling Major League Baseball, hey, you have to tell your guys they can't chew tobacco. It's like if we told them you couldn't go have a cigarette break.
Well,
Right.
they're asking him to do this.
Well, I'll tell you a story because I'm a baseball player. I had a stellar college career that I always remind everybody of.
in intramurals.
At what
but
college?
when I tried chewing tobacco for the first time, well, and the only time, I made such a beeline to an area where I could get it out of my mouth that you can't even imagine.
Eric, that's because you swallowed.
I have a job transfer here for you, Josh. You're going to New York now.
And he hasn't stopped since.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, mercy me.
Howdy, partner.
Well, quickly, just to get back on track,
I have to say I did make that mistake. My dad used to chew tobacco and I swallowed, and it was awful. I was sick for hours, but yeah.
Yeah, well, one thing I did want to get to is it was basically something you touched upon, is that people look up to them as role models, and that they believe it's setting a bad example for youth. But you know what? There's a lot of parents who set bad examples for their own kids.
That's
so
what I'm
I
saying.
think that's kind of a wash.
What about the American Idol judges that drink Coke? I mean, that's the same thing. Some people would say that's bad for you, too.
No, it is. I mean, you can clean battery corrosion off with a Coke.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's like my position. And I know it sounds like we're getting a little off track with it, but my basic position is, if we're going to start regulating how people live their lives when they're not breaking the law, I want it done across the board. if we're focusing on athletes now because they're role models, well, we need to focus on celebrities because they're role models. And
I
we
would
all
agree.
we all know a Lindsay Lohan, right?
Oh, please.
But more importantly, and I totally took key to what you said, Alfonso, is ultimately it's the parents. And parents are not taking responsibility for their children. They're not regulating what they watch on TV. They're not home enough because they're both working 2 jobs to watch their kids and raise them properly. And now people are pushing the responsibility onto the professional athletes and the celebrities to raise our children.
Well,
Let me
Lindsay
say-
Lohan gets a lot of crap for what she does too. So
But
don't make a mistake about
But
that.
everyone also makes light of it, too.
Let's outlaw Lindsay Lohan. That way it's fair and it's across the board.
I second that motion.
Yeah, really.
Let me just say one thing. Having had children, kids look up to somebody that they think is a star and understand that when they see somebody doing that, they want to do it. And when you're putting that in your mouth, especially down near your gum where it's immediately absorbed into your body, there's a lot of oral cancer that comes out of that long term. And once you start, you know, Josh, how addictive it is. I mean, you've
Right.
said you've tried and it hasn't worked.
Right.
So they're trying to take, whether it's right or it's wrong, they're trying to take a stand early on to keep those kids from starting, and then they can't ever get off it. Is it right? Is it wrong? Who knows? Everybody's going to have a different opinion.
Well, now, I have never seen a professional athlete actually open up a can of, chewing tobacco and pop it in his mouth while he's on the field.
It's called chew, just to give you.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
honestly,
Okay,
I don't want to
chew.
walk through the office and step in a gob of what somebody just spit out of their mouth that they'd been chewing.
Which is why I keep a dustpan next to my desk.
But
A spittoon.
one other thing I just wanted to add to this was the 2 senators, Durbin and Lautenberg, both praised Stephen Strasburg of the Washington Nationals, who's actually been very public about trying to give up on tobacco.
Why don't we direct this more to, not us here, but as a country, why don't we direct this more to the professional athletes that actually are responsible as role models? Why are our children looking up to them as opposed to these professional athletes that do the chew? Why is it that we can't, I mean, across the board it's a spectrum of good and bad and right and wrong. Why aren't our children looking to the athletes that do live? Because not all of them chew,
You
right?
hit the nail on the head earlier. It's all about parents. Why can't parents say, you know what, this person's a role model, this person isn't? Isn't it
Right.
as easy as that?
No, I completely agree with you. But I think a lot of parents want to. There's all this thing about have kids. Kids are a blessing, but then they kind of flake on the part where my kids shouldn't see this on TV, and my kids shouldn't have to see this, and I shouldn't have to protect my kids. Well, it's not my responsibility to protect your kids that you chose to have and I didn't.
Right.
Well, wasn't Britney Spears a role model when she was like 14 or something?
Yeah, well,
So it can all change.
Well, my point
Yeah.
my point is less that that the kids are going to be influenced by something, and it's more of the fact that, one, I don't want to step in somebody's spit while I'm at work. Two, why do you, like I said earlier, why do you get that special treatment to enjoy your intoxicant at
Along
work?
those lines, we do have someone here at the Compete headquarters who does like to partake in chewing tobacco, and I don't. Several of you probably don't even know it because you're
I
not
do now.
stepping.
I
You're
do
not
now.
stepping in it.
Do you really, buddy?
No, not me.
Oh, I know who it is now. Yeah.
All right.
Connie!
I'm sorry I'm so emotional about this, but as a smoker, I'm sick of being regulated. So that's why I had to say this.
So
But
you had to regulate yourself.
I had to regulate. We need to
He's
take a
emotional
break.
about everything.
Log on to CompeteRadio.com for news, information, hot topics, and more. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
All the single ladies, 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 all the single ladies. Now put your hands up in the club. You just broke up. I'm doing my own little thing. You decided to dip, and now you want to trip. 'Cause another brother noticed me. I'm up on him, he up on me. Don't pay him any attention. Just crying my tears. Get 3 good years, can't be mad at me. 'Cause if you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. Don't be mad once you see that he want it. 'Cause if you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. Oh, 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 oh. turns, and now you're gonna learn what it really feels like to miss me. 'Cause if you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. Don't be mad once you see that he want it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you don't, you'll be alone, and like a ghost, I'll be gone. All the single ladies, 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 all the single ladies. Now put your hands up. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. Don't be mad once you see that he want it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. Don't be mad once you see that he want it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it.
You're listening to Complete Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Josh Fourrier. In the gay world of sports, we have a lot going on this week. Eric, why don't you give us a little bit of heads up about what we can expect to see in gay sports?
This gay events weekly broadcast is brought to you by Sideline Sports Bar in Wilton Manors, Florida. We will not get through all the events. You can always find the events online at www.competenetwork.com.
CompeteRadio.com.
Or CompeteRadio.com. Yippee-yi-yay-yi-yo. This is rodeo weekend in Phoenix.
Here we go. One more time.
Yippee-yi-yay-yi-yo.
Okay.
No, it's yippee-ki-yay-ki-yo.
That's what I thought you said.
Where do all the gay go? This weekend they're going to Roadrunner Rodeo in Chandler, Arizona at Rawhide. Rawhide is the most exciting place to go to a gay rodeo, and you won't be disappointed. Everyone that stops by our booth wins a free trial subscription to Compete magazine. So everyone check that out.
How exciting.
We also have the Volley del Sol, an exciting volleyball tournament this weekend in Phoenix. Actually, it's in Tempe outside of Phoenix at ASU. So everyone that wants to learn about Volley del Sol, come see us and come see the Compete team out at Volley del Sol.
How exciting.
Yippee-yi-yay-yi-yo. Where does Connie go?
Oh. It just keeps getting worse.
Connie, our resident straight lady, will be at the original GLBT Expo in New York City on March 12th and 13th.
Yeehaw.
The first person to email radio@competenetwork.com and puts GLBT in the subject line wins 2 free tickets to the expo, compliments of Connie Wardman, and the opportunity to have a BLT with the GLBT lady, Connie Wardman.
How exciting.
Wow,
I had
you're
no
all
idea.
You're all for.
That's all, folks.
If you've ever wondered what a real sports event looks like, attend Lombardi on Broadway, and you might see our very own Buddy Early there this weekend, February 19th, 2011, if you're fortunate enough to get an evening seat. Be the first person to email radio@competenetwork.com and put Lombardi in the subject line, and win a voucher for 2 free matinee tickets to Lombardi on Broadway in New York City.
That's awesome. I think I am jealous of you that you get to go see this. I mean, that looks like a phenomenal
very
play.
excited. I'm going to be heading out of here as soon as our radio show's over today. I got to head to the airport.
Yay!
To get to New York City to see Lombardi tomorrow night.
Why is it that somebody gets to go to the theater with you, buddy, and they only get a BLT with me? I need to talk to you about this, Eric.
I think that
Smokey and the Bandit 4 starring Burt Reynolds. Visit the theater with Connie and enjoy the movie.
You forgot your G and BLT.
Eric will be at the Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards in Palm Springs on March 12th. If you've ever wanted to see what a penguin looks like, come see Eric in a tuxedo. Look for Eric at this event to benefit the Desert Age Project in Palm Springs.
Is that a penguin or the penguin? Because you can will you be waddling around the...
I'm the penguin, thank you.
Will you be wearing your flippers?
I'll be wearing a tuxedo and flip-flops.
With your feet tied together? That'd be hot.
this is almost going as well as my interview with Blake.
So, Alfonso, tell me about your partner.
My partner. He's invisible, and he doesn't exist.
It actually went better than your interview with Blake, I must say.
My God.
This Sunday, February 19th,
coming.
Pardon me, this Sunday, February 20th, the Compete Prize team will be at a booth at the Roadrunner Rodeo. Stop by for some exciting opportunities to win a free subscription.
Yee-haw! Sorry, I had to get that in.
Yippee-yi-yay-yi-yo, it's time for me to go.
Oh, wow.
I am so proud to be a part of this show.
Don't lie, God will get you for that, Josh.
I really do love this company. I mean, we are involved in so many different events and good things going on across the country, and it's a good place to work. I mean, we obviously have a lot of fun here, but more importantly, helping people as much as we can is always... Yes, Alfonso.
Can I quickly say something about something we posted on Facebook?
What did we post on Facebook?
Well, there was a football player who is very not really well known, and we asked our Facebook readers if they knew who he was.
Yeah.
Because he was arrested, and he screamed, "Don't you know who I am?" And a person named Rick thought he was a Jamaican bobsledder. Another person named Tyler asked if it was any relation to Nanu Nanu, and the football player in question is Legedu Nani, wide receiver for the Chargers.
Well, that's the old thing. If you don't want to hear the answer, you shouldn't ask.
Yeah, we have about a minute left, but when you brought that up yesterday, I had no idea. Like, I'm not into sports. I mean, I've said that 1,000 times, but I know most of the names, I guess, for the most part. If I hear a name, I know they're an athlete, except for Pujols. That one caught me. That one caught me off
Except
guard.
for the best player in baseball.
Yeah,
Well, Buddy loves baseball, and he loves pool holes.
Well, that's what got me was the
I didn't even know who Legedu Nani was.
I thought it was a hair removal system on an infomercial I saw. So
Well, I hope he doesn't marry an Asian woman and name the kid Pooh, because that would be awful.
Legedu Nani?
If he had an Asian kid and named him Pooh.
I'd like to say check out CompeteRadio.com for more updates coming up later regarding our launch in Phoenix, Arizona on the Valley's progressive talk station, KPHX. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Complete Sports Radio Network.
You spin my head right round when you go down,
Walk out the house with my swagger, hop in there with Joe. I got places to go. People to see, time is precious. I look at my Cartier out of control. Just like my mind where I'm going, the women, the shorties.